Welcome to Beginning with New Testament Greek. This is chapter 22, covering subjunctives. In this video, we'll cover the meaning of subjunctives, how to create subjunctives in the Greek, as well as some irregular forms, the usage, and then cover our vocab. Starting off with subjunctives meaning. For the rest of our words, we have been covering the indicative tense in all of our present, perfect, aorist tense forms. Now we're going to be moving to what those tense forms look like in a different mood. The mood is subjunctive rather than indicative. In Greek, we have four different moods. The mood of the verb is communicating the author's attitude toward an event, whether it is factual, possible, desired, commanded, contingent, and all of these. So the subjunctive mood is a mood that indicates possibility. And this mood of the verb is communicating how the author feels about the action, whether it is possible or actual. And in the indicative mood, this is expressing an assertion or certainty of a fact. For instance, I broke the window. However, in the subjunctive mood, it's expressing an indefinite but possible or probable action. So here the word break is in the subjunctive because it's added this if clause in the English. If anyone breaks a window, he must pay for it. Like all non-indicative verbs, the subjunctive doesn't communicate a specific time of the action. So present and aorist subjunctives don't communicate when an action may be happening. In the present, the action is progressive or repeated. In the aorist, it's a simple action with no regard to its process. And the indefinite nature of subjunctives generally places the possible action as happening in the future rather than the past or the present. Subjunctives are communicating an indefinite action, and this is not always certain that it is going to happen, but it's not necessarily an uncertain action. It just means that it's possible or not happened yet. So here we have, but when he comes, and this is in the subjunctive, when he comes, it is contingent on the time happening. So it is not a definite, it's not already happened, but it is a possibility in the future, and the rest of the verse indicates what's going to happen as a result of that action. In English, we don't have any differences other than the addition of helping words like would or could or should or if, when, but in Greek we have specific ways that the verb will change based on whether it is indicative or subjunctive. The subjunctive mood occurs in only two of the three tenses, the present, progressive, and the aorist, the simple. There is no perfect subjunctive in the New Testament, and the subjunctive mood is often used to express purpose, result, or condition. And we're not necessarily learning new endings. These are going to be using the same indicative endings that you're used to. However, the connecting vowel of these endings will lengthen. So here you have luo, doesn't undergo any change because you can't lengthen an omega, but you can see how the rest of the word will lengthen based on how the word connects with the connecting vowels. So in the present active subjunctive, these are going to be your endings. These are actually in the blue, you'll see these are the form of a me in the subjunctive. And these are simply ending with a smooth breathing mark. So if you were to take these blue endings off and add a smooth breathing mark, you would have the subjunctive a me paradigm. So that's a great way to remember your present active subjunctive. And likewise, the same thing is happening in your present middle passive. You're going to have your indicative endings for your middle passive, and then you're going to see a lengthening of that connecting vowel. So there's really not much new as much as learning how to utilize something in just a slightly different way. So you're going to be using your present middle passive endings, but to make them subjunctive, you're just going to lengthen that connecting vowel. And here you have your present middle passive subjunctive. For the aorist active subjunctive, you're going to have your aorist active forms as the same as your present active forms with the addition of the sigma. However, there is no augment because we are not speaking of past time. So here you have your aorist active subjunctive for the luo paradigm, and you see that the sigma has been added, and then you have your lengthened connecting vowel and your personal endings. The aorist middle subjunctive is going to use those middle passive forms, except you're going to have the addition of the sigma to the stem. And remember, in the aorist middle subjunctive, you are dealing with a true aorist middle. This is not going to be the passive. We'll see that next. And here are your aorist middle subjunctive luo paradigm. You'll see the lu stem and then the sigma added, as well as those personal endings with the lengthened connecting vowel. Your aorist passive subjunctive is going to be similar to the indicative mood, where that aorist has a separate form for the passive in the middle. So for this form, instead of adding the sigma, you're going to replace with a theta. So your aorist passive subjunctive luo paradigm looks like this. With the theta, you'll notice that the accent has changed to a circumflex, but you'll see that the sigma is replaced with the theta in these and utilizing those same personal endings. Now let's talk about a few irregular forms. Your second aorist subjunctives are going to have the aorist stem instead of the present stem. So if you are dealing with an aorist verb that undergoes a stem change in the aorist tense that looks different from the present stem, they're going to do the same in the aorist subjunctive. You're going to be using your present endings, but you'll see that stem spelling change. The rules you've already learned about connecting vowels will continue to apply with contract subjunctives and liquid subjunctives. Here you'll see that the contract vowels have connected with the lengthened subjunctive vowel, and in the liquid subjunctives you will see that that stem change indicates the tense form and the sigma has been rejected, just like in our other forms. Now let's discuss how subjunctives are used. Subjunctives can be used to form many different clauses. The first is a purpose or result clause. Here you'd use hena or hopos. I write these things in order that you might not sin. So here we have in order that, and hena me is a very popular construction to indicate a negated purpose clause. You're also going to be able to see the subjunctive used as result clauses are formed. So here we have let your light shine before people so that they might see your good works. So here there is somewhat of a future indication that this may or may not happen. There is some possibility. The second type of clause are indefinite clauses. These can be made through the use of the following words: hasan, hatan, eosan. First, you might have a relative clause. Here we have hasan, whoever receives me, receives the one who sent me. So there's an indication of the possibility of different people, and whoever is a relative clause, and this is used in the subjunctive to indicate a mood of possibility, that it is possible for different people. Next, we have temporal clauses. So otan, whenever you pray. So now we're not talking about different people, but we're talking about at different times. The time here is relative, and so we're causing this a temporal clause because it could be at different times. Third, we have emphatic negation, the ume clause. I like to think about this as that it is negating the possibility. So instead of this being a mood of possibility, the ume is negating that possibility. And so there is no possibility here. So it is emphatically denying that something will occur. Here, seeing you will see and never perceive. Fourth is a deliberative clause. So this is communicating a real or rhetorical question. So here the subjunctive is being used in this sentence. Pilate said to them, "Then what should I do with Jesus who is called the Christ?" This is a subjunctive deliberative. There is a deliberation. There is some uncertainty as to what should be done. Fifth are conditional clauses. We have eon and eon me, and this would be if I glorify myself, my glory is nothing. These indicate a beginning of the sentence that has a subjunctive, while the rest of the sentence will generally take an indicative mood. So here we have if I glorify myself in the subjunctive, my glory is nothing in the indicative. So these are conditional clauses. And here's another one in the negative form. So eon me would be unless these men remain in the ship, you cannot be saved. So unless, if they do not remain, then they cannot be saved. And in English, we would say unless. So this is indicating that the result is conditioned on a possibility. Finally, let's take a look at the vocab for this chapter. And let's start off with some verbs. Here we have aspazomai, our word for greet. And aspazomai is a middle only, so you'll notice that with greeting, this is a verb of reciprocity. This is a verb that needs two parties to be involved, and that's why it may be middle only, aspazomai, greeting. Epiginosko, this is a prefixed form of ginosko that we've already had, and it means I know, understand. Epi, remember, you will see that iota change there when you have a prefixed form and you need to take an augment. Ergazomai, I work, do, perform. Now this is not a verb of reciprocity necessarily. It is just a middle only verb, so you'll want to make sure that you note that that is a middle only verb. Katizo, I sit. We have the word cathedral, the seat of the bishop. That might help you remember. And katokeo, I live, dwell. This is another prefixed form of okeo with the kata in front of it. So this is living or dwelling. And kairo, I rejoice or give greetings. Commonly this is used to begin some of the letters. Etos is the word for year, and you'll notice that's in the third declension. So you have that ta for to notice that it's neuter, but you'll also get that genitive singular ending. So make sure to memorize those together. Therion, animal, beast. This is just your standard neuter. Thalipsis, this is a feminine third declension noun. So notice thalipsis, thalipseos, tribulation, affliction. And krea, this is a standard first declension feminine for need. And some more nouns. Krisis, this is a third declension feminine for judgment, condemnation. Phobos, fear, this is your masculine second declension for fear, reverence, respect. We have our word phobia from this. Phobos. Phulake, guard, watch, prison. This is feminine. Emprosthen, in front of, before. These are some particles that you'll see commonly used. Emprosthen, in front of or before. And idu, behold, look, see. This is actually a frozen verb form. If you think of idon, the stem, that iota delta together. But this is used and it's not conjugated or changed forms. It just always occurs as idu, to tell people or someone to behold, to look, or see. So these are your vocabs for this chapter, and we'll look forward to imperatives and optatives next.